If you're thinking about buying a house, especially in Charleston, these are the top 10 mistakes you're going to want to avoid. I'm making this video because I'm seeing homebuyers make these mistakes all the time. So some of these are simple to avoid, but so important. And making just one of these mistakes could cost you thousands of dollars on your home purchase. So make sure you watch this whole video if you're thinking about becoming a homeowner soon. Whether you're buying new construction or a pre-existing home, these will apply. And of course, I saved the biggest mistake for last. So let's get into it. Now, the first mistake is crucial because it has to do with your finances, and that is not speaking with a lender early on. When I tell buyers this, sometimes they're hesitant and they tell me, well, I don't even know if I can afford a house yet, so I don't want to get pre-approved yet. But here's the thing, the only way you know you're pre-approved to buy a house is if you apply with a mortgage lender. The lender is going to tell you, first off, what price range you can afford, and also what your estimated monthly payment will be. Some buyers just go off the price range that they can afford, but it's also important to know how much you're going to pay every month. The last thing you want to do is buy a house that you can technically afford, but it's so expensive that you have trouble making the mortgage payments. And another important tip that you need to know is that when you speak with a lender will depend on what type of home you're buying. If you're buying a pre-existing home, absolutely get pre-approved with the lender first. However, if you're thinking about buying a new construction home, you may have to wait to get pre-approved until you are touring the new construction communities. Each community will have their own preferred lenders, so if you see a home that you like there, I would recommend getting pre-approved with that builder's preferred lender. Of course, they can also offer you lower rates, special incentives, and money towards closing costs, so that's free money to you. Now, speaking with a lender is absolutely crucial, especially if you have a house to sell. The lender can help you work out the numbers and see how much you're gonna net from your home sale. They can help you take the estimated proceeds from that home sale and put it into your down payment on your next house. Now, the next mistake you're gonna wanna avoid is not comparing lenders. So whether you're buying a pre-existing home or a new construction home, you're going to speak with at least one lender. If you're buying a new construction home, definitely speak with the builder's preferred lender. And you should also take that loan estimate and show it to another lender. If you have one that you work with, great, get their second opinion or even get a third opinion so you know you're getting the best deal. Some lenders charge origination fees or other extra fees. And sometimes the builder's preferred lender is going to charge you extra for you to have that lower rate. So while it might look like you're getting a good deal because you're getting a lower rate, they very well could be charging you a lot more and it might not be worth it for you. But you won't know that until you get a second or third opinion. And it's the same concept if you're buying a pre-existing home. If you already have a pre-approval from a lender that you typically work with, then get a second or third opinion. If you don't already have a lender, I have a great lender that I work with that I can recommend to you. Now, the third mistake is forgetting hidden costs. When it comes to buying a house in Charleston, it's so important to understand all the numbers. Buying here is different than buying in other states. When you're looking at a home, you need to know if it has an HOA fee. Know how much that HOA fee costs and what it includes. Sometimes the HOA fee is an annual payment, sometimes it's quarterly, sometimes it's monthly. And sometimes they have an extra regime fee on top of that. So make sure you factor that into how much you're going to be paying every month. I'll give you a common example of this. I get a ton of calls from buyers who want to buy a condo or a townhouse because they think it's cheaper. Then when I send them the townhomes and condos, they see that the HOA fee is a lot higher than they thought. That HOA fee could range from just $30 a month to $180 a month, or even around $400 a month. So that home's purchase price could look affordable on the surface, but the price you pay each month might push you out of your budget. This happened last week. I recently had a buyer who wanted to buy a townhome, and he ended up buying a single family home because it was actually more affordable for him. So the HOA fee is one hidden cost. But another hidden cost you might run into in South Carolina is the flood insurance. Make sure you know how much flood insurance your house will require. If you're in a flood zone X, your lender will not require you to have flood insurance. However, if you're closer to a body of water or protected wetlands, your flood zone might be in flood zone AE. In that case, your lender would require you to have flood insurance to finance your home. And that can range from an extra $1,000 a year to $2,000 or more every year. Another hidden cost could be property taxes. Now, if you're moving to South Carolina, you're actually pretty lucky because we have some of the lowest property taxes in the nation. In the Charleston area, our taxes range from about 0.5% to 0.7% of the property's assessed value. Compare that to New Jersey at over 2% or Texas at around 1.6%, and you're actually saving a lot of money on property taxes in South Carolina. When it comes to property taxes in Charleston, make sure you understand the difference between a property in Charleston County, which has a lower tax rate of around 0.5%, versus a property in Dorchester County, which is over 0.7%. Now, that difference might be small, but know that it will still affect your monthly payment. If you speak with a lender, they can clarify that difference for you. But enough about taxes, because we need to move on to the next common homebuyer mistake, and that is ignoring market trends. This one is actually big. Some of the buyers I talk to do not understand really what's going on in the market. We're in a seller's market, and every year, home prices are appreciating at an average of 3 to 5%. Now, how does that affect you as a buyer? Let me illustrate this in the form of an example. And this is an example that I see a lot. So let's say you're renting right now, and you're not really happy with where you're living. Maybe it's too small, maybe you have noisy neighbors, or you just don't like the management. So let's say you want to move and you want to buy a house, but your lease is not up until next year. So you think, okay, great, I'll just wait another year until my lease expires. But what you might not understand is that waiting another year to buy a house could cost you thousands of dollars. Let's say you want to buy a house right now at $400,000. If you wait 1 year to buy, that same house might cost you $416,000 due to appreciation. So in a year, you would pay $16,000 extra because you waited. Whereas if you had already bought your home, you could have that $16,000 in equity adding to your net worth. I know some of you don't want to pay the extra money to buy out the lease, and I totally understand that. I get it. However, that $2,000 to buy out your lease could save you $16,000 or more depending on the price of your home and depending on the appreciation for that year. In this case, there's a big cost for not taking action and a big reward for taking action. And it could mean the difference between you being able to afford the house you want or not. Now, let's talk about the next buyer mistake. And this one is simple, but you gotta get it right. And that is not thinking about your timeline. This mistake is more applicable to those of you who have a home to sell. If you have a home to sell, make sure you understand roughly how long it will take to sell your home. If your house needs updates, if it has a unique layout, or it's in a less popular location in your area, your house might take longer to sell. Your realtor will be able to tell you roughly how long it might take to sell. And if you don't already have a realtor to list your house, just let me know. If you're from out of town, I can connect you to a great realtor in your area. And if you already own a home in Charleston, just reach out to me and we can have a conversation about the process and how much you might net. If you're planning to list your house and you want to buy a new construction home, I would recommend touring new build communities before you list your house. That way, you know which communities you like, which plans you like, and which homes are probably going to be available around that time. If you have a timeline of about, let's say, 4 weeks or less, sometimes communities will have move-in ready homes. But in my opinion, it's still safer to see what they will have completed in the next 2 months. That will give you more time so you're not pressured to find a home ASAP, right? Also, it's important for you to know that with new construction, they typically won't let you go under contract until the house you're selling is under contract. They call that a house to close contingency. So they want your house to be set to close before you go under contract with their new construction home. If you're planning to buy a pre-existing home, I would recommend getting your house under contract first, then going to tour pre-existing homes. If your house is not under contract, most listing agents and sellers won't even consider going under contract with you. So if you're buying a pre-existing home, have your house listed already and under contract with your buyer. Typically, contracts last around 30 to 45 or even 60 days, but I've had contracts close in as little as 2 or 3 weeks, just so you know. Now that we've talked about timelines, we also need to talk about this next buyer mistake. And this next mistake takes just a simple Google search, but it can make a big difference. And that is ignoring commute times. Do not ignore commute times. Charleston has grown significantly in the last couple of years. And along with that, of course, comes, you guessed it, traffic. When you're considering commute times to your job or school, think about the time that you are leaving and arriving. Don't look at the miles traveled as much, but think about when you're going to be leaving. So when you're calculating commute times, go on Google, click on directions, and see how long it's going to take at different times. For example, your drive to the office in the morning could last just 18 minutes. But around 5 o'clock, that drive could turn into 30 minutes. And if you have a longer commute, that time is going to be inflated, especially around rush hour. So remember to plug in the times that you will be leaving to get the most accurate duration. And while you're calculating your commute to work or to school, also think about places that you'd love to go to, right? Calculate your commute times to the beach on a Saturday at noon, for example. Or calculate your commute time to the nearest grocery stores, or the nearest shopping outlets, or the nearest restaurants. Get an idea of what your lifestyle will be like when you do live in your new home. And this next mistake is crucial and could cost you lots of money if you don't think about it, and that is ignoring resale value. Now, I know a lot of you are looking for your forever home, but consider the fact that on average, homeowners move every 7 years. So you might not expect it, and you might end up moving in a decade or two, right? It might be unlikely, but if you do end up doing that, certain things are important to your buyers down the line. Buyers think about being in a desirable school district or in a location that's 10 minutes away to downtown, or they think about the general condition of your home. So when you do think about resale value later on, you might want to choose a home that's closer to town or in a more desirable school district. Thinking about resale value is going to give you even more reasons to take care of your home and properly maintain it. Now, enough about that, because we need to talk about the next mistake, which is not getting a home inspection. This is crucial. Whether you're buying a pre-existing home or even a new construction home, I recommend you get an inspection. This is especially important if you're buying a home that is an older home, maybe it was built in the 70s or 80s or even before. Don't expect it to have the most up-to-date wiring, but do know what you should expect. Make sure you have a professional home inspector looking at the house so that you know there are no major issues like plumbing issues or crawl space issues. If you're buying a new construction home, however, the builder is typically going to have a walkthrough before you close so that any punch list items or any extra items are repaired and taken care of. Before that walkthrough, however, I still recommend that you get an inspection done by a third party. That way it's not biased. If you've already bought a new construction home and you haven't had an inspection, that's okay. Usually the builder is going to have a warranty for at least 1 year. Some builders have them for 2 years or 5 years or more, but at least all of them have it for 1 year. So in the next year, around the 11th month, definitely get an inspection done and send that list to the builder to have those warranty items repaired. It's normal for things to shift and move around and pop up in the next year after you buy a new construction home, because no home is perfect. And you're going to want to listen to the last home buyer mistake, which is possibly the most important, but the most overlooked. And that is, do not make the mistake of buying a home without a real estate agent. I know, I'm biased, right? But the truth is, you don't know what you don't know. And I'll give you an example. I recently had out-of-state buyers reach out to me, and they wanted to buy a fixer-upper home. I sent some properties to them, and we went back and forth a little bit, and none of them really seemed like they were a good fit. They needed too much work. Eventually, they found their own property and decided to just buy it, and they bought it without me, right? And they thought they got a great deal. However, a few months into renovating this fixer-upper, they found a bunch of hidden problems that ended up costing them a lot more money and a lot more time and a lot more headache than they thought. And that's because they didn't have a realtor represent them. They didn't have someone who does this every day, double checking everything. So please, for your sake, especially if you're buying from out of state, make sure you work with me on this. Or at least work with some real estate agent, okay? Even if it's just new construction and you can go to the community, I would not recommend that. The builders' sales reps represent them and their best interest. They're not looking out for your best interest. And they can be very persuasive because their goal is to make the most money for their builder. So especially in the case of new construction, make sure you have your own representation and do not just go to those communities without speaking with me first. A lot of builders will not let you work with an agent if you've already gone to their community, or if you've already gone to their website and signed up through their website. So don't put your information into the website if you want representation. They're gonna reach out to you and they're very persistent. They're gonna send out lots of calls, texts, they're gonna blow up your phone. So make sure you're protected and that you have representation on your side. So if you'd like for me to represent you, make sure you give me a call, give me a text, reach out. My name's Kristyn Garcia. I do this every day and I love to speak with you. I love talking to you guys that reach out, and I love helping you get into your dream home. We're making dreams come true over here. So if you'd like to learn more about new construction, then check out this playlist here.